Welcome back to another episode of the HigherUp podcast. I'm your host, Michael Smoke, and frankly, it's been a while. It's been a long time since I've done a solo episode, and many of you have asked when another one was coming, that the interviews were nice, but you'd like me to get back to this. And the truth is, I have just been on the road a lot and not had the opportunity to sit down in my office and do this, and I wanted to try to do something new and do more of an interview style. It's a different sort of test for me. It's a different skill set. I hope that I've done a good job with it. I hope you guys have gained value from the guest episodes. I know I have, getting to interview some of the people that I look up to in various spaces and industries. But today, we're getting back to our roots and what made the podcast what it is today, which is a solo episode and even more so, a Q&A episode from you guys. Before we get started, I just have a couple of things I want to say. Number one, as you probably know, this podcast is brought to you by Dream Recovery, my first and currently my only podcast sponsor. No, I'm not doing an ad read. I don't have some sort of script they're paying me to give you. I have used Todd, the CEO's products for a year. That was the vetting process to make sure I liked them and believed in them. And ultimately, I think Todd is an incredible guy. He welcomed me into his home for 3 days. He was on the podcast, the last episode that's up right now. Go check it out. All about how to sleep better and why it matters so much. He's a good human being, a good man. His staff is incredible. His wife, Katie, is incredible. And I believe in what they promote, and I love their stuff, and I love them. So code HU, letter H, letter U, on dreamrecovery.com saves you, I think, 15% on your order. Don't quote me on that. I think it's 15 though. And I'll drop a link to dreamrecovery.com in the description as well. Next thing, I am doing my speaking tour, in-person workshops. This is a half-day event in Atlanta, Georgia, October 24th. I'll drop the link in the description as well if you want to learn more. And then a big 3-day event in Austin, Texas, December 4th through the 6th. This is me and my friend Nick Comodina going through a series of presentations, workshops with you guys. The VIPs will come to dinner with us and hit a workout with us. And it's an incredible opportunity to connect and network. The feedback we got from the Tampa event was incredible and so rewarding and fulfilling. And so if you're interested in working with me for a half day in Atlanta, October 24th, or for 3 days in Austin, again, I'll put the link in the description. But it's also, I think it's higherupwellness.com/tour-info. So I look forward to seeing you there. Now, without further ado, let's get into the episode. I do want to say this episode is mildly, in part, inspired by a follower and this follower's girlfriend. So Chase, if you're listening to this, your girlfriend is a real one. I did see your TikTok asking me to make you a video. So for those of you who don't know Chase, most of you, all of you probably don't. Chase is running a half marathon this week or this coming weekend, and asked if I could put out a 2-hour episode to get him through his race. A couple things on that, Chase. If you're going to want to push a 2-hour or sub 2-hour half marathon, you're probably going to want to listen to something that's a little more hype than the sound of my voice, frankly. And unfortunately, 2-hour solo episodes are really difficult. I don't think this is going to stretch 2 hours. And I'm not going to use any unnecessary filler. I don't know how Huberman does that. He's truly gifted. But Grace did send me an awesome DM about you. And so this episode, my friend, is for you, brother. I hope it gets you through at least a portion of your race. Who knows how long it'll be. We're going to see, though. So without further ado, what I've done here is I submitted a poll on my Instagram story last week, and I picked some of the questions that I want to ask. So I've got my phone down here. I've highlighted the questions I want to ask or just cropped them right there. And I don't have answers planned for these. If you guys have listened to the Q&As before, you know how this goes. I'm going to give you the best answer that I feel is just coming up when I read the question in hopes that it helps you. And if I can't help you, I'm going to try to point you to a resource that can. I have no idea how many questions I have. This is probably the thickest Q&A I've done from a question standpoint. And these are typically pretty mentally taxing, but really fun to do. So without further ado, let's dive into the first questions. The first question is from PJ Khaled. How beneficial is it to do hard things just for the sake of it being hard? I talk about that often. There are multiple facets, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional facets of this that benefit the human condition when it comes to doing difficult things. Scientifically speaking, we have a part of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, the AMCC. And per the research, from what we can tell, it seems to grow in size. I think it's the only part of our brain that actually can undergo active hypertrophy and atrophy, growth and shrink, when we do something. And they see when we do self-elected challenges that we don't want to do, the AMCC seems to get bigger, and it seems to be associated when they stimulate the AMCC through brain scanning or through, I think, electrical stimulation, E-stim. I'm not sure. I'm not a neuroscientist, but they seem to see a correlation with the size of the AMCC and our literal will to live. I don't know about you, but sounds pretty important to me. Scientifically important. Then of course we have just the what do you want to call it? The mental discipline, mental toughness side of it. Always reminds me of the quote, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. When we do hard things, our ability to show up for ourselves gets better. And once that gets better, our trust in self goes up. When we do hard things for the sake of them being hard, we learn what we're capable of when we prepare, how we perform under pressure, how we can set, achieve, and even exceed our goals. And through all of that, we build confidence. Everybody says be confident. Everybody knows confidence is important, but nobody tells you how to do it. It is through evidence. Confidence is evidence-based. And when we build evidence, we build belief, we build confidence, but most importantly, we build trust in self, that we can do what we set out to do, that we can show up independent of our mood or emotional state, and then we can be the person we want to be. So the answer is it is of paramount importance, because if we never did things that were hard that we didn't want to do, we would not really develop as human beings. We were meant to push ourselves. And so that is my answer to that question. I hope that helps. Bobby asks me, all right, we're getting right into the heavy ones. Best, and also there's no order to this. This could be a heavy question, and then there's a question about diet. I have no idea the order they're coming in. I'm just swiping through my pictures as they go. Best tips for dealing with grief. I recently lost a parent and would love your advice. Bobby, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is go listen to the episode I did with Peter Crone, how to break free from suffering. I just turned the microphone down a little bit. I hope that didn't mess with the quality of the show. We'll find out in post. I say post like I have post-production. I don't. I just upload this right after I record it. The best tips for dealing with grief. Go and listen to the episode, How to Break Free from Suffering with Peter Crone. I let Peter coach me through my dad's death. One of the things he encourages you to do, or encourages me to do in the episode that's helped, is stop saying, I lost my mom. It's going to be hard, but words have power and meaning, and you didn't lose anything. What you found was a relationship with your mother that was so great and so beautiful that it was worth feeling the sorrow and grief that you feel. I know a lot of people personally who felt nothing when their parent died because they had no relationship with them. And to me, the pain and grief that I felt, and I'll get into how to navigate that in just a minute, as a result of my dad dying, was an indication of how beautiful our relationship was. And I would do it exactly as we did it all over again from my first breath, knowing I would lose him at 27. Damn it. Knowing he would die at 27. See, I still slip up. I don't use the word lose. Stop saying I lost. You didn't lose anything. I didn't lose anything. I would go back and do that all again to have that relationship with him over a lukewarm one, but he's here 20 years longer. He said to me once, we were sitting outside, and I have it on camera. I don't know what possessed him to say this, but he just said, maybe our relationship is what it is because we knew we wouldn't have as much time as everybody else. And I never forgot that. And it made me really emotional because I wasn't ready to hear it, but I think he was right. It was like both of us deep down had this knowing that it couldn't always be this good. And I remember having weird gut feelings about my dad not like really cherishing the time that we had, really calling him every chance that I got and doing it. And so my advice is while anyone who has a parent who's still here sees every opportunity, have every conversation, leave nothing on the table. But for you, man, navigating the grief is going to come to breaking free of the mental prison that tells you lost something. You had something worth feeling great sorrow over, which means at one point you felt great joy. And that is a gift. And that is more than many people will ever get out of the death of a loved one. So remember that. You're very lucky for that perspective, as am I. The next thing I will say is surrender. Too many people, as part of the human condition, feel unsafe in their nervous system when emotion comes up, negative emotion specifically. And so we bury it, we medicate it, we mask it with everything under the sun that can be considered a vice. You mask your emotions with doom scrolling, mask your emotions with dating casually, multiple sexual partners, alcohol, drugs, everything humans do to mute the negative pain because our nervous system is so terrified of feeling those emotions because maybe it perceives them as a legitimate threat. We live in a society now where we're so safe, we don't need the primal instinctual programming we have in our body, which is to identify threats at any corner. We maybe did a couple hundred years ago or a couple thousand years ago, but we don't now. And so it looks for threats and things that aren't necessarily threatening. And so when I say surrender, I mean when you feel the emotion of grief, anger, sadness, joy, whatever it is that comes up at some point when you think about your mom, go into it all the way. Don't try to manage it. Don't try to understand it. Just be fully in it. You know, there were times where I was so mad at my dad, I was cussing him out in my car on sessions with my coach. And there was a part of me that almost didn't get there so many times because I would say in my mind, my brain would go, no, it's not right. You can't be mad at him. He's dying. My coach would challenge me and say, why not? Be mad. Go all the way into that anger. Feel it. Feel it in a space where you can be safe to express emotions to that extent. And it wasn't until I felt the emotions at their full expression, fully surrendered to the human experience of negative emotion, that I learned a couple things. Number one, I'm not going to die when I feel those emotions. They're not that scary. Number two, the clarity I gained on the other side of it was unrivaled. I wasn't mad at my dad. I love my dad. He's just a human like me doing his best, living for the first time ever. And so a lot of us are muddied mentally by our inability to feel emotions at their full expression. And that is now something I seek out. I was sitting on the couch the other day and a video came up of a grandfather finding out through one of those funny pregnancy reveal tests. He had headphones on and he found out he was going to be a grandfather. They were like lipping it to him. And he freaked out and was so happy. And I immediately thought of my father and just began to cry. And I haven't cried over him in a couple of months, but I started to feel it come up and I put my phone down and I just went fully in it. Cried for a couple of minutes, got through it, and was able to show up in my spaces in my career elsewhere much better because I felt that emotion. And that's the last thing I'll say. Suppression of expression leads to depression. Shout out Gabriel Pinto for that one. Great quote. If you suppress those emotions, your soul, other parts of you, other facets of your life will begin to depress. They will begin to be depressed. You need to express all spectrums of human emotion. So when you feel grief, feel it. When you feel anger, feel it. Sadness, feel it. And then you can see on the other side of those emotional feelings and experiences what truly is and was, which is that you had a beautiful relationship worth grieving. I hope that helps. JST XB asks, as someone who isn't currently faithful but interested in exploring more, what should I do? I'm assuming you don't mean faithful to a significant other, and you mean to God in your faith. And so what I would recommend, my friend, is simple. I'm just going to recommend what I did as a guy who was agnostic. Whoa, that's a cool color, a Forerunner. I've never seen that before. Sorry, ADD moment. As someone who isn't currently faithful, I was agnostic, about as agnostic as you could possibly get. And what worked for me was, one, I was broken. I was thrown into the fire, consecrated in a way, or sanctified. I think that's the word, sanctification. Through extreme trial, the last 18 months of my life have pretty much been constant trial. I know you guys see just what's on social media. Things are going great in the career, but my personal life has been full of immense challenge. And it hasn't stopped to present day. But actually, the last couple of weeks have been pretty stellar. I can't even lie. But through that process, I realized a lot of my misery and lack of faith in God was coming from my desire to wrestle with him and control all these outcomes. And it wasn't until I was fully broken by my dad's situation and all the wrestling I'd been doing and how tired I was. Like, I think so many people that come to Christ are they're so tired because they have truly good intentions and they want to control everything and they want to believe they have control over everything, but they don't. We don't. I don't. You don't. And I gave my life to Jesus in that moment in my car when I was just totally broken by trying to be everything I wasn't. His doctor, his caretaker, emotional support for myself, my mom, my family. I gave it all to him. And in those months leading up and after, I just asked God earnestly. Let me get to the actual tips. The first tip I would give you is honestly and earnestly ask the Lord to reveal himself to you, however you see fit. You don't have to start speaking in Old English. Don't water down your prayer. My pastor, Philip Mitchell at 2819 says, wring out your heart in prayer. Say what's really on your heart because God already knows. If you want to curse him out, he knows. You're not doing yourself any favors or him any favors by not saying what you really feel. He knows what you really feel at all times. And so wring out your heart. There have been times where I've straight up cursed God Told him I'm mad at him because it's a father-son relationship. It's not a master-servant or father-daughter relationship. It's not a master-servant relationship. And so wring out your heart in prayer, what you're going through, and ask the Lord to reveal himself to you, and continue to pray that prayer. Continue. You can't have a relationship with someone if you don't talk to them. Talk to them. And about everything, just like he's your dad. And as far as the Bible goes, I would read the word. I would start with Proverbs and then maybe go to Psalms, or you could go straight to the Gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the life of Jesus, the eyewitness accounts through his disciples. And then maybe Ecclesiastes. Those books give you a really good start, and you'll have the discernment from the Lord by then on where to go from there. And the last thing I'll just say, man, is really try to have an open, softened heart. The Lord says in the Bible that unbelievers have a hardened heart. It's sort of like wearing soundproof earmuffs. Of course, you can't hear the voice of God. Your heart isn't in a position to receive it, and that has to be in a position of submission, which can be really difficult. I can't say, is this a guy? It's a username. I can't tell. Yeah, profile picture looks like a guy. It can be really hard for men to move into a state of submission to God, because the act of submission, if we're just talking energies, is a feminine energy act. To submit to will is a feminine act. And so it can feel really hard to do that. And that was something I wrestled with, and something that Gabriel called me out on at one point when he was my coach, was you're very masculine and driven in your work and your job and everything you do in performance. And I think you're wrestling with God instead of just being obedient. And he was right. So to you, I just say, try to step into that act of submission, knowing that if you step into that feminine state in that space with God, you can be way more masculine in the parts of your life where you have to step up and be a man. Just trust me. It is not easy to do, but the more you can do it, the more repetition, like anything else, the easier that it gets. So I hope that helps. Read the word, pray earnestly and honestly and often without ceasing, as they say in the Bible, and soften your heart. Jessica Rose asks me, tell us about a time when you weren't going to make it through / what helped you. Oh, I think the first thing I thought of when I saw this question was the importance to call back to an earlier question. Why do we do hard things? Was the Misogi I did in 2023, which was my first 50K. I had never even run close to that far. Definitely not on a trail, which those who know a trail run is way different than a pavement run, way more exhausting. And I remember at like mile 26, I was like, oh, shoot, I have 5 more miles. I ended up having almost 7 more miles because I got lost on the trail. And I remember my hip flexors hurting so bad that like there were times when I had to pick up my legs to move. And I was saying out loud, because I got it from Goggins, can I take one more step? Can I take one more step? And the answer was yes, yes, yes. I thought I was going to bail at like mile 27. I was in so much pain. I felt like it was never going to end, but I did it. And that was a microcosm for what was to come, because my dad was at that race, which is his sickness. That's what leads me to my next point. I don't think I ever thought I wasn't going to make it, because that's a really heavy assumption to make about yourself. Not going to make it means, frankly, it means die. And I've never been in a position where I felt like I wasn't going to live to see the end of it. But there have been positions where I thought I was going to quit, like the ultra, or where I thought I was going to be different for the worse. My dad, there were times where I let that make me angry and bitter, and people even like rebuked me in my content that I seemed negative and angry. And it's because I was wrestling with God instead of submitting to his will for my life. It might sound crazy to some of you, but how could the submission of God's will to your life be your dying parent? It's empowered me to help people do the same thing. James chapter 1, verse 2-4. Look it up, twin. So, I thought I wasn't going to make it through that. And what got me through the ultra was leaning on my past performance, leaning on my evidence, which gave me confidence, and knowing that I was going to be better on the other side of that and gain a little bit more belief. And what got me through my dad was the Lord, my community. The group of people I had around me was so God ordained, it wasn't even funny. There were people in my life that are still in my life today, but even that aren't in my life now, that I will never be able to repay them for how they showed up for me. And I know it was God. I know it was God working through them, because there's just no other way to explain why they stayed, why they hung around, why they did the things that they did. So community and God is what got me through those times. And it wasn't that I ever thought I wasn't going to make it. It was that I thought I was going to make it through it extremely scathed and a bitter person. And I didn't. I came out of it with more love. And I think that's what Pop would want for me. And so that's what comes to mind when you ask me that question. I hope that's helpful. All in all, to say, lean on James chapter 1, verse 2 through 4 when you go through something you feel like you can't make it through. I'll read the scripture, or I don't have to read it. It's memorized. It says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you face trials of many kinds, because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance run its course so that you may be complete and lacking nothing." The end of that, complete and lacking nothing, always really stuck with me, and I understand it now, and we all do inherently. Every hard time, every shitty thing we go through, it shapes us, it molds us, it sanctifies us, sometimes purifies us. And you're able to turn around and help people with the same thing, which is the ultimate sense of purpose and fulfillment, is helping people realize they can be delivered from the evil and the struggles that they go through. And so count it all joy when you face trials of many kinds, and when you face things you feel like you can't get through, because boy, does it make you a more complete, whole, understanding, empathetic, and hopefully loving person. So good question. Ty Hirsch asks, what's the most common character trait you have observed in those you see as successful? I thought this was an interesting question. And the thing that comes up when I read this now, when I read this earlier, is very simple. It was consistency. And I know that's such a basic answer, but I've given whole talks on the power of consistency and how we live in a culture that romanticizes grand gesture and completely minimizes the impact of daily decisions. I mean, take nutrition, for example. You see crash diets, fad diets, this new superfood caused me to lose 75 pounds. And they want everybody to believe that you can get healthy overnight. But in reality, nobody got sick overnight. They just made decisions every day that pointed them towards this diagnosis or prognosis. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Similarly, health is life by 1,000 paper cuts. It's the small decisions we make every day that over days, weeks, months, and years will make us or break us. And so in hyper successful people in their business, it's the little things they do every day. You know, they might have just like 3 checklists they need to tick off. And if that's all they do in the day, they know they got 1% better. But they all understand the importance of doing, I don't want to say the bare minimum, but minimum non-negotiables in their day. You know, if they say I've got to send at least 10 emails and record 1 video and spend 30 minutes in a creative period, they'll always do that with 100% compliance, even if that is all that they do. And I think it's also important. I have a talk on the podcast somewhere in the early 20s episodes. Consistently good will always beat occasionally great. And how I believe we should find our floors, the things that we can dip below no matter what life throws at us, because that's incredibly important. It's how I built my physique. It's how I built my personal brand. It's how I got through the worst time of my life with my father, was that I've built systems, and so have these successful people, that I know I can adhere to independent of my emotional state, independent of what I have going on in my life, how much time I have, that will yield me maximal compliance. And Stan Efferding says it best. Compliance is the science. You are going to see great results in what you can most often and frequently stick to. And that's going to look differently for everybody. So successful people have unrelenting, unwavering consistency because they figured out systems that they can adhere to no matter what they're going through in life. And I encourage you to do the same thing. I'll touch on this quickly. Molly McCraner asks, if we're coming to your Austin in-person event, how can we best prepare in advance? All I'm going to say about this, again, Atlanta, October 24th, Austin, December 4th through the 6th. That's the finale event, in-person workshop. Just come with a notebook, an open mind, and be ready to network and ask questions and engage. You're going to get what you give. And if you give attention and time and effort and energy, you're going to get a lot out of it. So that's all I'll say about that. I don't want this to be some sort of billboard for my in-person events. I'm just super excited about it. Okay, let me take a quick sip here. Quick water break. And by water, I mean sugar-free lemonade. Okay. Yeah. Oh, crap. I had to readjust my chair there. In case y'all ever wondered if I edit the episodes, let this be clear. I don't. Do you have a quote that's been really resonating with you lately and you think we need to hear? Yeah, I already said it. I'm so convicted about that Bible verse that it's the first thing I've considered as a tattoo outside of the one I might get for my dad, but I'm not gonna put it on my body, but it's the closest I've gotten. It means that much to me. That quote, James, that scripture, James 1:2-4. I think about it every single day. It's written right there on my whiteboard where I have all my goals for the year. James 1:2-4 and Proverbs 13:12, which is Proverbs is 13:12 is hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. So those two, Proverbs 13:12 and James 1:2-4, are the quotes that I lean on heavily all the time. Sophia Frank asks, biggest advice for not letting other people's actions affect the way you feel about yourself? Oh man, banger of a question, Sophia. Something I struggled with a lot until recently. People pleasing is really what that is. In its essence, in its root, you are people pleasing. You care so much about what people think of you because, let me personalize this. I cared so much about what people thought of me that I would abandon myself to be liked, to be loved from a significant other, to be liked by friends, by groups of people. And it is a very comfortable prison. It is a prison with padded walls and a nice bed and silk sheets. And I think that comes from a lack of trust in God, that he made you in his image and your purest essence is enough. And if that's not to say that everyone is perfect the way they are. People have a lot of trauma and baggage and are spiritually fat that they need to peel away to get to their essence. But if you operate from a place of divine inspiration, a place of truth, kindness, and good morals, you're enough. You're enough. I was enough. And I didn't realize it because of my own programming that I had allowed to enter my mind through my experiences. I let people say things about me and form stories about me that I allowed to be true about myself. And that is bullshit. And so through the trust I've built in God and myself, through doing hard things, through building a relationship with God, I've built a ton of confidence and a really strong anchored sense of who I am. I know who I am, and I'm aware enough to know when I have things about me that are shifting the wrong direction and need to change, and I try to audit them as quickly as possible. I'm not perfect. I have a lot of stuff that I still need to work on, and I am every day. But I now know that the image that God created me within is enough. That purest form, that childlike self. And if you don't like me, that's okay. To say that, you let other people's actions affect the way you feel about yourself, if you roll that down to the end of the toilet paper roll of thought, it's, I need people to like me because if they don't like me, who will like me? And that's really a scarcity mentality. Well, if these people don't like me, I can't possibly find anybody else who would accept me exactly as I am. Assuming you're ethical, you're kind, you're selfless, you try to serve others, help others, but you have respect and dignity for yourself. If you're a good person, this is the prerequisite to this, guys, is not being an asshole. Okay. So if you're an asshole, what I'm saying doesn't apply to you. But Sophia, I have a feeling you're not. And the fact that you care enough about this, even though it's rooted in some sort of wound, some sort of inadequacy you feel in your identity and your image, you're a good person because good people wouldn't be worried about, bad people wouldn't be worried about this. So it's a good indicator. It should give you hope that your heart is soft and you are a good person. But you need a deep rooted, anchored sense of self to understand that if you don't like me, that's okay. Someone out there does. And God made you in his image, Sophia, which means you are as you need to be. And if you aren't as you need to be through him, then you have some work to do to unpack those feelings of inadequacy, that need to people please, that need to be liked. But the longer you do this, it's like Proverbs 13:12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. If you have something you want to do, content you want to post, thoughts you want to share, and you're not doing it because of your fear of being disliked, it is going to make your heart sick. You are not going to feel truly yourself. I feel more free and more like me than I have in many, many, many years because I finally have broken free of some of that people-pleasing programming and the things I was doing in past relationships and friendships that I had to abandon my own morals, my own standards, my own needs to be liked. And I realize the absurdity of it now, but you don't realize it when you're in it. And I feel more free than I ever have because I've broken free of needing or having an expectation of anybody liking me. So long as I am proud of what I'm doing, I'm staying tapped in with God and I'm on my path, then I really, truly don't care. It almost sounds oversimplified, but it's true. And so that is how I broke free of it. I also now taste what it's like to be authentically myself, and I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back at all. It's like talking about my faith. People have said negative things about me, nasty things about me. People are triggered. People's flesh is definitely triggered by talking about Christianity and God. And it's so funny. Like, I don't understand why is my belief in something that we know on average, if you follow the principles in the Bible, your life will probably get better. Why is that enough to unfollow me or chastise me? I don't understand that. I mean, I think I do, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. Point is, I now act in a way that feels the most authentically aligned to me, and I am the freest I've ever felt, and everybody can have that freedom. And it looks different for everybody, but it's worth it. I promise. Nobody cares about you, and those who do don't have enough going on in their own lives and are not someone worthy of having an opinion you should deem valuable. So I love you. I hope that helps. Let's see. Anthony asks, how do you deal with betrayal? 6-year relationship ended. She left for another person. A lot of different ways I could take this, my friend. First off, I hate that happened to you. That's shitty. Wouldn't wish that on anybody. I'm sorry. But let me think about this. The thoughts that come up, the first one is give without expectation. You know, it may sound nihilistic or negative, but it's not true. It's understanding that I don't have expectations really of anybody, maybe a few people for basic integrity and morality and respect or whatever. But I give without expectation until I am given a reason to do otherwise. You know, when you say like you were betrayed because you were in a long relationship and she did something that hurt you, really what we're saying is you were giving something, love, loyalty, time, attention, whatever it was, all of it, with the expectation of her returning that energy at a minimum or maybe even doing more. And that caused you to get hurt, you to feel betrayed. But in reality, she just acted out of her own self-interest, which a lot of people do. And when you break free of having expectations or expecting people to have the same heart and intentions as you free yourself from a lot of pain. I give people my love, my time, my trust, my communication, my knowledge, until they give me a reason not to. I mean, right here, you're on this podcast. Everything I give away is for free. And I give without an expectation of someone reaching out to me and saying, can I pay you for this? No, it's not why. I mean, yes, but that's not why I do it. And I started realizing like, oh, I'm doing that in my career, but not in my real life. And when I just started giving people my love and my time and attention without expecting anything from them in return, because I understood that was trying to feed an inadequacy within myself that I couldn't get from God or from a deep trust and love and belief in myself and that little kid in me, that trust and belief in that little kid, but also that protection of that little kid. Like I realized I was softly manipulating people. It's like, well, if I give you love or if I give you resources or money or time, like you have to give me something back in return. No, I'm going to give that to you because I love you and I want the best for you. And if you squander it or you take advantage of it, honestly, all that probably means is that she needed your love even more than someone who could hold it. And one day she'll realize that. And that's not worth hurting you. That's a gift that you have that much love to give. And so this might not be advice that people agree with, but like I have broken free from having an expectation of a woman in a romantic partner. And again, there are bare minimums, of course, like respect and communication and honesty. But when I say I have no expectations, what I mean is really I'm pleasantly surprised when I receive those things in return. And if I don't, I know that I just pivot away from that human being. But it's truly important to give without expectation. And it goes back to what I said earlier about having a scarcity versus abundance mindset. Like I don't have a finite amount of love, time, resources, or I have a finite amount of resources, but I don't have a finite amount of my energy that I'm willing to give you. And if you squander it, that's fine. I'll just walk away with love. Like I'll find someone who can hold it, who can give it, but I don't have an expectation of those people in my life to return it to me. And so I would tell you to challenge and remember in your own mind, like this just means I had a lot of love to give, that I feel this way. And she couldn't handle it. She couldn't hold it. And that's okay. It's okay. You have a lot of love to give and someday someone's going to hold it and it's going to be the most incredible surprise ever. And you can still take what you learned from this relationship. It was for a reason, all of it. And also understand that if you feel betrayal, you feel anger, just like I felt sadness and grief with my dad. It means at one point you felt great joy with this person. And that's a gift. Some people never get that. And just because it ended poorly doesn't mean you have to reflect on the whole thing poorly. So that honestly was some pretty hot take advice I feel like not everybody's going to agree with. So let me know if you agree with it or not. And I'm just telling you what's worked for me and what has made sense to me. Ultimately, it comes down to give without expectation. And if they squander it or take advantage of it, you can simply pull the gift that is your energy away from them. And you'll find someone who can receive it with gratitude and give it back to you. I hope that helps. Teddy Haas 70 says, what inspired me to start this page? Talking about Instagram. A lot of you are new here, and you probably haven't been here since the beginning. I don't know if many people at all have, but I started this in March of 2023. I started the TikTok in March, the Instagram in like June or July, and the podcast, what you're listening to now, in December, I think, of 2023. So it's all very new, or relatively new. And the reason this started is very simple. It was really more than anything a cathartic release for me. I had this extreme passion for health and wellness, and I still talk about it, not as much. I talk about other stuff more now, but like my page when it started, HigherUp Wellness, was all about the physical wellness. It was all about losing body fat, building muscle, eating a good diet with a little bit of neuroscience mixed in between because I love Huberman. And it was a cathartic release for me in the way that I had this passion. Again, I think of Proverbs 13:12, hope deferred. I had this thing inside of me that was just burning to get out. I wanted to tell people about it because it changed my life and I wanted to change their lives too. And the point is, nobody really cared in my personal life. Not friends, family, and rightfully so. Like, they don't need to care about cold exposure and heat exposure the way that I do. Like, I understand not caring about that to the degree that I did, which is a hyperfixation that's lasted 9 years. And so for me, the content was about a place to put my love. And I just thought, if someone needs to hear this, the internet will do its thing. I never expected any of it to blow up. I didn't know what viral meant. I think people get into the internet for the wrong reasons. And I think there's a lesson in here for those of you who are trying to build a personal brand. You don't chase notoriety. You don't chase fame. You don't chase money. Oh, definitely not that idol. Ugh, horrible, horrible fucking motivator. I was chasing impact. I was chasing cathartic release. Like I say all the time, my videos were really just like a diary or a journal for me to get my thoughts out into the world. And then when I realized I could make an impact, it became about impacting just one person, but also if I could impact as many as possible, great. And so I've been chasing impact. I've been chasing purpose. I've been chasing knowledge. And that's why I did it, was to have a place where I could put that. And if it helps somebody, great, they could follow me. And I still think about the story my dad would tell every time we hit a new follower milestone, 100K, 500K, a million. He would say, I still remember when you called me and I was in the Florida International or Florida Atlantic parking lot. My dad was a salesman. He sold running tracks to colleges. And he was like, I was sitting in the FAU parking lot and you called me and you said, Dad, I have 100 followers. Can you believe 100 people? Wow, I'm getting emotional a little bit. Can you believe 100 people care what I have to say? Wow. This is crazy. It was 100 people at one point. This was 100 people. And I was flabbergasted that 100 strangers cared what I have to say. And now TikTok is like just under 2 million. Instagram is whatever it is, 700. The podcast gets 100,000 listens a month. I'm sorry for the pause. I haven't really said that out loud in a while. And I haven't really realized how far it's come. And I think it's really easy for me to just be in it. And it's also really difficult for me to be proud of myself. But I am. I'm proud that I've stuck to this. I'm proud that I didn't give up. I'm thankful that God's given me this platform. And it's really cool. And I really appreciate all of you. I really do. It's crazy to me that I get to do this for work. It's crazy to me that I ever catch myself bitching about it. That's so not fair. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And it all started just because I have this thing that I had a love for a long time, and I didn't understand why I cared, and I didn't understand why nobody else cared as much as I did, and it was really isolating for a while to have this passion inside of me that I had no outlet for. And you listening to this, you've given me the outlet, and I am forever grateful to all of you, and I always will be. I'm grateful that my dad got to see me start to do something great, that you facilitated knowing for my father before he left this world that I was going to be okay and that he had a huge hand in this. I'm just proud to be someone that you guys deem worth listening to. So thank you. That was not part of my answer to the question, but I just got overwhelmed with gratitude there, and I haven't really felt that and sat in that for a while. Anyway, back to the questions. Oh my gosh, I just get emotional about how far we've come, and now I have to answer this question. Okay. JB Marcy Lou asks, what question do you ask your parents in an interview you'd make with them before they pass? So for those of you who don't know, I shot a series of podcasts with my father when he was dying. Pardon me. And it was incredibly difficult. It's the hardest thing I've done, I think, in my life, because we both knew why we were doing it. And so the questions I asked him, I'll give you just a rule to follow because I don't want to influence you too much because everyone's going to be a little bit different. The rules that I followed were simple. What are the milestones in my life that I know I'm going to need his advice for? Ask those questions. And those are going to be really hard. Looking in the face of my dying dad and saying, how do I raise my kids? What do you want to say to me on my wedding day? I'm so thankful I did that, but holy shit, it was so hard. I asked him a lot about his early childhood. There's a book that I used a little bit of inspiration from. It was like 100 questions to ask your parents or something. It was big on TikTok Shop for a while, or I think it was called like Mom, Dad, I Want to Know Your Story. And those were good. Some of those were good, not all of them. But I asked a lot of questions about his early life, things that I never knew that he did. He was a crazy son of a bitch. When he was a little boy, I think it was really healing for both of us to talk about his time as a young man and a little boy, like 7, 8, 9 years old. That's a part of my dad I never knew. It's crazy. Like I just knew him as an old man, And so ask them questions about their early life, their family, their experiences growing up, and the questions that you'd be really sad to not have the answer to if they weren't there for that day or that moment. No matter how hard it feels to get it out, I promise you it's worth it. Because I have a repository of information from my dad that no amount of money in the world would allow me to give up. So I hope that helps. And I encourage all of you to do that. Enrique asks, what is one change most people can make that will improve their lives? The first thing that comes up for me is like a physical thing. I think that's what this was in reference to. I think the easiest thing you can do, that covers so many bases, reduce risk of all-cause mortality, better well-being, better mental health, better clarity, is just walking. That might be surprising for some of you. If you follow me for a while, you know that I am a huge proponent. But just walking has so many benefits, like an insane amount of benefits, health-wise, mental-wise. I think spiritually, getting out in nature alone, no headphones. Sometimes you can have headphones other times, but it's such a powerful tool for longevity, for weight loss, for preventing cognitive decline. It mimics EMDR therapy, which is super good for your central nervous system. It's a really powerful tool, and people in fitness love extremes, and so they never talk about walking, but they're so quick to talk about HIIT and high rocks and marathoning and sprinting and bear crawling and just bullshit. Like, just go for a walk. Just go for a walk. It's not that hard. It's not hard. Walking is the reason I lost 60 pounds. Controlling my nutrition, walking 10,000 steps a day minimum. You can walk more. And just strength training 3 times a week. So like the one thing, if you're not doing, that I would do physically is just walk every single day for at least 30 to 60 minutes, no matter what. Break it up if you have to, 5, 6-minute walks, 6, 10-minute walks. I don't care. Just make sure that you do it because it is powerful. Hope that answers your question, Enrique. Paul Schiavone? I don't know. Paul asks, how do I find a job that actually fulfills me and makes me want to get up in the morning? My perspective on this is a little bit different than I think modern day influencers, social media people, matrix escapers, as they call themselves, fucking idiots. I think people are looking for fulfillment in the wrong place. And I think there's nothing wrong with having a really good 9-to-5 job that doesn't fulfill you. I think that a lot of people don't understand. Like my dad used to say, you shouldn't live to work, you should work to live. And he loved his job, but it was about supporting and aiding a lifestyle that gave him what he really wanted, which was time with his family, time with his friends, time on the golf course. And I think it's okay to view work as just this thing that I do that supports me and affords me the lifestyle where I can go chase that fulfillment. So maybe it's you have a 9 to 5 that you like and you're pretty good at. And generally, I want to remind you that we typically just like things that we're good at. Like I'm good at things that I don't necessarily love at my core that give me purpose, but I'm proficient at them. So like I don't mind doing them. And I think it's important that you just pick a job that you're proficient at and is okay. And like if you're good at it, your ego likes it, which means you're gonna like doing it a little bit more than you would something you suck at. It's just sort of a human condition. We like things we're good at. It's simple. Um, and so it's fine to do that and then chase fulfillment elsewhere. Volunteer at your church, volunteer at an animal shelter, create community groups. Like you can go get fulfillment from elsewhere, but there's this epidemic of people who, are waking up and realizing, yeah, in some ways the 9 to 5 is unnatural, but it's also very deeply embedded to our society. So like, in my opinion, you can either sit on the sidelines and bitch about the rules of the game, or you can just learn the rules of the game to bend them to your will. Like when I was still in corporate America for 3 or 4 years, I figured out a system that worked for me that gave me the lifestyle so I could go do what I really wanted to do, but I still worked. And so I used those funds to support what I really loved. And so I'm not going to tell you to quit your job and go create content. No, I'm telling you like look and get creative with avenues you can find purpose within that aren't your job. It's okay to not find deep spiritual fulfillment in a 9 to 5. In fact, I would say it's normal. And if you can just remove the expectation that you're supposed to get fulfillment from your 9 to 5 job, then you can take a lot of pressure off yourself and then start to see opportunities elsewhere where you can get that fulfillment. So, Paul, that's my answer, my friend. I screenshotted this question earlier, deciding if I want to answer it or if I even have a valuable answer, really not. So, CC Carr asked, how can I let go of someone I'm experiencing limerence with, which is interesting. So, for those of you who don't know, the definition of limerence is a state of being infatuated or obsessed with another person, typically characterized by a strong desire for reciprocation of one's feelings, but not primarily for a sexual relationship. Interesting end of the sentence there. I think this is important. A strong desire for reciprocation of one's feelings. All right, you know what? I am going to answer this. There's a lot that can be said about the topic of limerence. I think it's important to remember that in a breakup, whether it's with a friend or a romantic partner, we tend to only remember the great parts of it and not why it ended in the first place. That is the first flaw of the human mind. And it was one of the first times I realized that our brain is not our friend. Our thoughts are not always out of our best interest. And that's why it's important to observe your thoughts and be aware of them and not be consumed by them. And so just remember, like, there was a reason it ended, and you're forgetting those things because your brain is picking out all the high points. It's picking out what you did wrong, not what they did wrong, not where your needs weren't being met. And so just remember that your brain is deceiving you a little bit, and you need to be very objective and maybe even go as far as writing out. Here's some advice: going out and writing out what wasn't right with the person, why you got out of the situation, why they got out of the situation. And that end of that definition is interesting, that Google says a strong desire for reciprocation of your feelings, because we at our core as human beings, we all just want to be seen, heard, and understood and loved as we are. And it goes back to where a relationship with God is so important. Like what are you lacking within your life that led to that person being an idol, that you feel this innate need to know that they love you too, to know that they miss you too? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It doesn't matter. It's about you. It's about learning to love yourself and show up for yourself and build a relationship with God so that you don't seek that in another person, because humans will always let us down. That's why, like, whether you subscribe to it or not, it's a great justification for why idolatry, making something an idol in the Bible, is a sin. Ultimately, it's with your best interest in heart, my best interest in heart, because when you put something of the world on a pedestal, it will always fall off the pedestal and you'll go, damn, that really let me down. And then you build resentment and bitterness. But if you just stop making people and things of the world idols and give without expectation, you don't have limerence. You see reality and truth for what it is. You have a shortened path of heartbreak because you feel the emotions and you're a human and you miss them. But then once you see things for what they are, it just becomes easier to move through the experience more quickly. And so a lot of this is coming from your limerence, is coming from your deep desire to be seen, heard, and understood. And there's something you need to peel back there that makes you feel like you need that person to give it to you and not the Lord, not someone who can actually hold it one day. And why this person? Because the truth is, if it was supposed to work out, if they could hold what you had, then it would have, or it will. Either way, you can have full faith. Either way. And you can eliminate the feeling of limerence. I promise you, they probably weren't as great as they were, or as you think they were, that's causing this feeling. And if they were really great and you mucked it up, then take accountability and ownership for that. Take radical accountability for where you fell short so that you can do the work to be someone that can show up. I don't know how this situation started for you. I don't have any detail. But for me, like the desire to be loved as I was, like I was willing to people please and abandon myself. And it wasn't until I stopped doing those things and became principled and stood my ground and held my boundaries that I was actually loved more fully and wholly by the people. Not wholly, like whole, to be complete, by the people in my life, when I showed up for myself first and respected myself first. So I think that's my answer. I hope that answers the question for you, that you probably are remembering only the good things, and there's something within you that feels inadequate or not whole enough, that you need to dive in and do the work on to understand that you in fact can be whole enough without this other person, that you're experiencing that innate desire to just have the feelings reciprocated. I know what that's like. Trust me. And it's not serving you well. I promise you, it's not in your best interest to do that. It's in your best interest to build a life for you that you are proud of, and to build love for you that you are proud of. And then the right person will come along and it'll just be a happy addition. Limerence will be a thing of the past, at least in my experience. I can only speak from mine. So I hope it's helpful. StoneWin11 asked, what lesson took you the longest to learn but changed you the most? The lesson that took me the longest to learn but has changed me the most is settling is never the right decision. Settling in any facet of our lives is never the right decision. Settling in the job because you think it's just good enough, in the house because it's just nice enough or just has just almost everything you need, the relationship because they're just good enough. Settling tells God, yourself, and the world, there's no way it can get better than this for me. No way. And what a disrespect to God and yourself that is. To act from that place of deep scarcity, to settle. Like that's what I was really realizing. Like I stayed in situations in my job and my work, agonized over doing this for so long because I was like, I'll just settle in my job and not create content. Like, what was I thinking? Look at what I could have been missing out on. Because I was scarce. In my mind, I was scarce. I thought there was not enough out there for me. And so the lesson I've learned, that every time I walked away from the thing that I knew deep in my soul was not where or what I needed to be in, something better always took its place. Always. Because when you do that, you act out of that place of abundance and trust. You are rewarded. You are rewarded for your trust in God and rewarded for your trust in self. And it always, every time, I'm like, you almost become addicted to it like a game. Oh, this doesn't serve me. Cut it off because I know something better is coming, because it has every time. And we know this in hindsight. We really do. But when we're in the moment, again, our brain is not always our friend. And so our instinct is, oh, no, let me just hang on to this thing, because if I don't, then I have to be alone. Who cares? Who cares? Go listen to the episode I did with Nick, How to Shift Your Identity and Get Unstuck. We talk about when you leave that old life. We used the island analogy, and swim to the new life. You have these two islands, and in between you just have the sea, the void. And that's the place where people give up. They're afraid to be in that void alone. But it's the only way to tap into the life it is you say that you really want. And so the lesson that I learned is I don't settle anywhere in my work, in my partnerships with business owners or companies. I truly have this mindset of abundance. Like if I trust that God has something better for me and I feel that feeling, it's probably for a reason. Cut it off. And I used to sit and try to think my way out of that gut feeling, and it never served me well. Someone asked me last night, what do I think with my head or my heart or my gut the most? And it's my gut, because I think that voice in the gut, that instinct, is God speaking to us, because it's normally calm, it's normally quiet. It's the first one we ignore because it's rarely what we want to hear. And I trust that feeling relentlessly now. So that's the most important lesson I've learned. And it's changed me so much. So much. I'm so much more anchored and less anxious and less worried. I'm just anchored because I know when I operate from trust and abundance, I'm rewarded, and you will be too. Shia G. Wood. I think Shia. I'm not going to try to pronounce her name. You might not even want to pronounce it. I've just been saying everybody's names on this podcast. Sorry. Should have put a disclaimer. How do you deal with people talking shit? Always gets to me when people make fun of me. This is a vague question, but I picked it because I think a lot of people let the fear of judgment hold them back from the life they want. And I think that that's really sad. And I think that some of you need an absolutely sobering reality check and a slap in the fucking face. You really need to remember that you're going to fucking die one day. And none of that matters. And if anyone's talking shit on you, they are not doing better than you. The hatred, it always comes from below. I have never once seen a motherfucker say something about me and I go and look at their page or I know who they are and I go, yeah, I'd totally trade places with you. Never. Why? Because anyone above you will only want to help you up the ladder, or they're just flat out too busy to worry about what it is that you're doing. It's like these fucking content creators that go out and all they do is green screen people's videos behind them and shit talk them. It's like, dude, you're a loser. Like, you're a loser. I don't want to trade lives with you. And so if people are talking shit on you, just know that they don't have enough going on in their own life, and you should say, bless your heart and keep it pushing. But to live your life at the expense of what others think about you, again, disclaimer, if you are operating from truth, integrity, morals, kindness, and trust in the messages that God places on your heart, and you're still letting what people say about you dictate your actions, that is sad. That is sad. And it's time to stop doing that. Like, this is me holding all of you listening at this point accountable for letting other people run your life. It is your life. And all you have to do is step into giving yourself full permission to change your life, to change who you are, to change your identity, to change your clothes, change your style, change your job, change your relationship, whatever. Give yourself permission. And if you don't, simply because you're worried what others might think, you are going to get to the end of your life, which I have seen intimately in someone that I care about deeply, what it looks like when you actually live your life to the fullest and what that's like. You'll still have regrets. My father regretted things that I never would have expected at the end of his life, that I had to tell him, like, hey, Pop, that's not true. You did great. The point is, you're going to die one day and nobody's going to remember your name. And yet here so many of you sit actively making decisions for people who are from the lens of people who do not care about you. That is no way to live. No way to live. So keep going. I screenshotted this question. Louis Streles asked, do you think God or a higher power exists? Why or why not? Next question. I think by now we know it's clear. In reality, the answer is God has shown up for me in ways, through people, through actions, through environments that you just simply could not tell me are coincidence, because I think you were a fucking fool if you tried to tell me that it was anything but God, the way that things have shaken out in my life, despite all my hardships. There were undeniable instances of him working through the people in my life that, like, it just made me realize, like, oh yeah, he's real. He's very real, and he loves me, and he loves you too. And I challenge all of you to try to build a relationship with him. Okay, totally different shift. First fitness question. D. Prosperi Jr. says, how often would you recalculate maintenance calories when in a cut? Very simple question. Generally every 20 to 25 pounds. If you notice, you can run your metrics back through a total daily energy expenditure calculator. However, the best, I would say, metric is if your progress stalls, like if your weight stagnant, you're not moving any weight, you're not moving downward in your fat loss on the scale and your measurements and your progress photos, then it's time to recalculate. But I try to recalculate as infrequently as possible because I don't want to overcut my calories. And so for me, every 20 to 25 pounds, or when you notice the scale and your progress is consistently stalled for weeks. BWI11 asks, can you give a few essential, all caps, supplements for health and fitness, specifically budget friendly? BWI11, let me give you a quick reminder that nothing in the supplement world is essential, but there are definitely supplements that I would get close to that and say, like, I don't know about critical, but certainly make a difference. That's only a couple. It's creatine monohydrate, it's vitamin D3 with K2, and it's magnesium, glycinate or threonate. Now, you said budget friendly. So I get all my stuff from EcoVision. I've been sponsored. That's EKKOvision.com. I've been sponsored by them for a reason for 2 years. I'm never going to leave. I love MT as a CEO because they make great products. And Imtiaz is very transparent. Like they make 10% margin on all of their products, which is way lower than most supplement companies. And he's open about that. He wants people to know, like, here's how much I make off of selling this stuff to you. So I say that to say, you said budget friendly. The budget friendly option is going to be, and you can use code HU, letter H, letter U for HigherUp. I think you save 15% on supplements and clothing from EchoVision. Their clothing is also fire. But what was I saying? Oh, budget friendly. Yeah, creatine from EchoVision, 100 servings will run you like $30, maybe $28, a little more with code HU. So creatine monohydrate, because it is the most well-researched and well-documented exercise performance supplement in history. There's also some research coming out that it has neuroprotective properties, and when dosed highly, like 20 grams in a single dose, you can offset sleep deprivation acutely from like one bad night of sleep. Pretty interesting stuff. But you should generally take like 5 to 10 grams a day as a grown man or a woman. But it works. Boy, does it work. Vitamin D3 with K2, because it is an essential vitamin, so essential that some physicians call it a hormone, and 50 to 60% of the US is deficient in it because they don't get enough sunlight. You need it with K2. EchoVision also sells a vitamin D3 with K2. Highly recommend that one. And I just take one of the tablets a day, 5,000 IUs of D3. It turns on hundreds of epigenetic processes in our body. It's a precursor to sex hormone production. It's incredibly important. And then magnesium. Again, 50 to 60% of the country is deficient in magnesium. We need it as a precursor to ATP production, which is our body's first primary energy substrate. We need it as a precursor to serotonin and dopamine production, which is why some clinical research shows that people who supplement with magnesium report lower instances of anxiety-induced and depressive behaviors, because it helps us produce serotonin and dopamine in the brain, and melatonin production. It's good for sleep. So I use magnesium threonate. Again, these are both available. Actually, I designed the magnesiums that we sell, glycinate and the threonate. I prefer threonate because some research indicates that threonate can more easily cross our blood-brain barrier. Glycinate's still great, used by many, and it's much more cost-effective. I think 30 servings of our threonate right now is like $37. If we just got a price adjustment, I think that's right. And then 30 servings of glycinate is like 23. It's much cheaper, but that doesn't mean it's worse. They're both great. They're both great. So that's what I'd recommend: creatine, magnesium, and vitamin D. Those are the only three I would say are like damn near essential. Eva Kobar asks, connections in faith and fitness. Did God intend humans to pursue fitness? No, I don't think God intended people to pursue fitness, but I think it is literally a disobedience to God to be fat. And there's such a problem in the South with like pastors that are just morbidly obese. And I believe that a lot of this stuff is spiritual. I think people are physically fat because they're spiritually fat. They have wounds, they have trauma, they have programming that they haven't unpacked, and they turn to food for peace and comfort. But like there is scripture about basically treating your body well. 1 Corinthians 6, 19, 20 says, do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price, therefore honor God in your body and in your spirit, which are God. Proverbs 28. Oh gosh, I don't have it written down. I was writing these down at Bible study. Gabriel says it all the time. Something, those without divine revelation cast off restraint, I think is the verse. That just came straight from the Holy Spirit. I don't even know where that, I don't even know how. Is that right? Hold on. Let me search that. Proverbs 28, cast off restraint. I'm a little rusty on the solo podcast thing, huh? Where there is no prophetic vision or revelation, the people cast off restraint. And what I mean by that is like when people aren't receiving spiritual feeding, when they aren't like tapped in with the Lord, they cast off restraint, which could be caloric intake. If you're not spiritually healed, you're wounded, you're going to cast off restraint and treat food like drugs and become morbidly obese. Proverbs 23:20 says, do not associate with wine, drinkers or gluttonous eaters. The glutton and drunkard will come to poverty. Gluttony is a sin. That's obesity. Proverbs 23:2 says, put a knife to your throat if you are a man given to appetite. That can have multiple meanings, but like basically like giving into your appetite of any kind can be the death and undoing of you. And we see that with obesity. So like, I don't think I don't think God intended people to go out and deadlift because we didn't have McDonald's thousands of years ago. But I think that a lot of people are at extreme excessives of obesity because it's rooted in trauma and it's rooted in pain. And I know that if you are religious, if you say you follow God and you have this obese body, I would say it is a dishonor to the body that God gifted you with, to operate from that lens. So that's my opinion. Talking a lot about Christianity on this one. Luke Fletcher asks, how many sets a week are you hitting per body part to effectively grow? You're the GOAT. Thank you. I didn't make that up. He really said that. Okay. It says you're the GOAT right there. Generally, the research says until you get to like expert levels, 6 to 10 sets per week done in close proximity to failure is enough to trigger muscular hypertrophy. But it has to be with intensity, close proximity to failure, and it has to be with progressive overload. So you have to try to get stronger every single week. So I do about 6 to 10 sets per week, and I have built my physique plenty fine through doing that. Ella asks me, hey, Ella, longtime follower, and Ella, your take on doing too many endurance races in a year. I think physiologically, especially Ella, if you're a lady, it can definitely be detrimental to your hormones. And like, it's probably just not good. Like, I get beat up when I do too much endurance work. I think it's really important to ebb and flow in how many races you're locked into. But for me, I started locking in on so many challenges. And when I realized like what I was really chasing was that feeling of being enough, that feeling of validation, my desire to do those things really dwindled. And now my reasoning for doing them now is different. It's not from a place of hatred and trying to prove something. It's from a place of love and just seeing what I'm capable of when I pour into myself. So like, ask yourself the question, why am I doing so many endurance races? What am I chasing? What feeling? And if it's really rooted in good intention, then I would just say like, listen to your body, because multiple marathons a year, I know you're a much more serious runner than you used to be. That's not good for your hormones, male or female. I think it's important to take breaks to get the fire back. So yeah, I do think there's a line on what too many is, but I don't know what that is because it's different for everybody, if that makes sense. Rye Elevate, what is the realist way to build a good social media following? This is an interesting way to word the question. I think the question should be like, how do you build a social media following? And it's very simple. I alluded to it earlier. Stop doing it for the wrong reasons. People get in this for fame, virality, money, status, all bullshit and all fast burning flames, because when we do those things, we operate from a preconceived expectation that it should happen in a given period of time. But the best way to have extreme success in anything is to totally detach from any outcome, in need of any outcome occurring. And so the first advice I would give you is do it for the right reasons: impact, purpose, passion, to help people, to make people laugh, to help people learn, whatever it is. Do it for the right reasons, because that is a self-sustaining energy source that you don't need validation to receive. If all of this got stripped away from me and everything grew to 1/15th of the size it is right now, I would still do this every day and every week, because it's for me too. It helps me a lot. And so outside of that, I would say provide relentless free value. If you want to build a good social media following, one of the best things you can do is give all of your knowledge away for free. Again, the abundance mindset is huge here. People put shit behind a paywall and wonder why they can't make money. You haven't earned the right to be called coach yet when you have 600 followers. You need to build trust and goodwill by giving all of your knowledge away for free. And the law of reciprocity will take place if you do that. My pages have always been giving away all information for free. And the only thing you pay me for, like for example, if you want to be in my coaching community right now, which you can, higherupwellness.com/bio. And you can join the coaching community. We go live 3 times a week, but I don't relentlessly advertise it on my stories. My hope is that I give away enough free value that somebody trusts me enough to want to invest a little bit of their time and money in me to have more access to me live. But I will always give all the information away for free. So give information away for free relentlessly. Hormozy says, give it all away for free, sell the implementation. I'm a big believer in that. Post every day. I'm not going to spend time on that. Every day, 1 to 5 times a day. That's just a non-negotiable. And do it for the right reasons. If you keep those up and you detach from any unit of time being the amount of time it takes for you to be successful, whether it's because everyone's different. I popped off quickly. Some people took months, some people years. Don't let it say like, oh, I'm going to do this for 6 months and then give up. No, just go. Detach from an outcome and post, value, value, value. And don't be afraid to be authentic. The secret is authenticity and vulnerability. We're all talking about the same shit on the internet, but the people that choose to listen to me is because something about who I am makes me the preferred information source for that person, as opposed to someone in a space that's not me. And so you truly are the niche when it comes to your delivery of information. Like, your authenticity, your willingness to be yourself and remove any mask from who you are is your edge. It is your superpower, because there will always be people talking about every possible internet topic under the sun, in fitness, in mindset, in faith, whatever it is. but there will never be another you doing those things. So that's my advice to you. I think we're going to close out there. I think that's a good place to end the Q&A at an hour and 10 minutes. But let me know what you guys thought. Of course, you got to drop your step check in the comments. Mine's abysmal. I hope this was all right. It was a little bit unhinged and disorganized of a solo episode. I've been out of the game for a minute, but I promise you more solo episodes are coming. So drop your step check in the comments. It's 5:37 p.m. I'm at 4,900 steps. Luckily, I have a 5-mile run coming up right after this. So I love you guys. If you're thinking about it, please, would love to see you in Atlanta or Austin for the in-person events. That's October 24th in Atlanta. All the information in the description below. And December 4th through the 6th in Austin. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. I love each and every one of you, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Bye now.